And up, and we're being recorded right now. So I'll watch what I say. So anyway, I thank you all for being here. And I'm so glad it is recorded because, again, it's a beautiful night out there. One thing I just wanted to point out is if you're not in our production guide, make sure that you are, because that's very important. And that's how the crews that are coming in, productions that are coming in will be getting their crews. Also, keep going into our website too, because we will be posting when productions are looking for people. So if you're not getting our newsletter, make sure you sign up to get our newsletter because the productions are coming. And without further ado, I would like to introduce our absolute best moderator ever tonight. And this is Dan Stocky, and he is probably one of the most fun guys around town, I'm telling you. So Dan, take it away.
Well, see, now I got to live up to that. And I don't know how that's going to happen. I quit. Just kidding. Thank you all for being here. My name is Dan Stocky. I am the board president of UMFO. We don't have Oompa Loompas yet. Ricky made mention because we were trying to get Oompa Loompas and they're very, very difficult to come by nowadays. They're not as orange as they used to be, which is disturbing. Anyway, without further ado, I want to get on to this festival. First off, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you could mute yourself, and it looks pretty much like everyone is muted. That doesn't necessarily go for the panel folk. Sometimes you'll start talking and still be muted, and we'll point and laugh and go and all that good stuff. So that's for the panelists. And if you want to ask a question, please use the chat box. We'll be moderating that as well, rather than just throwing in. We can get to those things either right in the moment or at the end, depending on how well I can read and moderate at the same time. Anywho, we are here today to discuss the multiple festivals. There's multiple festivals available to local content creators and fans thereof. You don't have to be a content creator. You can just like these things, and all in this region. So we wanted to discover the pathways that are created by these festivals, and how these pathways might have a potential to open doors to professional careers if you're so inclined. And really, in short, we're here to discuss the power and importance of these festivals, not only to the region, but to content creators and well, like I just said, let me repeat myself a couple times. Jeez, Dan, shut up. So I'd like to introduce who the panelists are here. We've got Philip Gilpin. If you could, by the way, if you could like raise your hand or do a little jig. Philip Gilpin of the Catalyst Content Festival. We've got Matt Koshmrl. Matt, he is of the Duluth Superior Film Festival, and Dugan, and look at her waving over there. Free Range Film Festival. Daniel Oyinloye there he is, the man, the myth, the legend of DanSan Creative's film screenings. Keith Hopkins. Where is Keith? Oh, there you go. I'm looking around for hands waving. It's kind of funny. He's of Gravedigger Dave's Anthology Festival, which is beautiful. Richard Hanson. Richard, there he is, of the Northern Film Alliance, and Liz Jaakola. There's Liz of InDIGIfest. Welcome, one and all. Thank you for being here. Please feel free to be verbose. And of course, if you get too verbose, I'll just shut you down. So those are the rules. So I'm going to ask a question, and feel free to either raise your hands or jump in. A lively discussion is always a good discussion. No fist fights. If you're going to get loud with each other, take it outside. We want none of that here. So anyway, the first question I have for you guys is, there are a lot of festivals, not only around the country, but here in our immediate area. You're a representation of all of that. And each one of these festivals exists for different reasons. There's a myriad of reasons to have a festival. So could you each please explain briefly? I just said to be verbose, and here I'm now saying down a notch, because I know you could probably go on for days about your wonderful festivals. But tell us what your festival is and what you are trying to achieve with it. Like, what is your festival all about? And we'll start at the top of my list, Philip Gilpin.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, Catalyst is focused on episodic TV and narrative content. So we don't do films. We do anything that's in an episodic narrative format, scripted, unscripted, comedy, drama, game shows, talk shows, anything that you can dream up that is not a film. We will take a look at it. We take content in all its forms. We take it as just a regular pitch. We take it as scripts. We take it as actually produced video, actually produced episodes. And the point of the festival is simply to create a place where any creator from around the world can interact with the TV side of our industry. And that's one of the things that makes us unique. It makes Duluth unique about this, is that it's a pathway to the TV side, not necessarily the film side. There are a lot of long-standing, wonderful film festivals out there. Obviously, everybody here on screen, industry-wide, you have things like Sundance and Cannes. So the film world is covered. We focus on the other stuff. So.
Other stuff. Very nice. The Catalyst Other Stuff Festival.
There you go.
Matt Koshmrl. Am I pronouncing your last name right? What is it?
Yeah, Koshmrl.
Koshmrl. Okay, beautiful. Of Duluth Superior Film Festival. What are you all about?
Yeah, and Richard's here with me too. But the Duluth Superior Film Festival, we're very much kind of a regional community film festival. We're programming documentary and fiction films, both short and feature length. And our goal of our festival is really to give a platform to independent, locally told films from our region, but also bring in films, independent films from all over the country, all over the world, and share those with our community. And we've been able to partner with different community organizations and really program things that we think would, feature well in our region and give representation to voices that might not otherwise be heard in our region.
Beautiful. Anne Dugan of the Free Range Film Festival.
Hi. Yeah, so I'm actually just realizing we might be the oldest film festival in our region. I don't know, maybe I'm making that up. I think
What?
I don't know. I'm just going to make that claim right now, and anyone can fight me for it. But I'm just realizing we might be. And we love.
Well, wait a minute. How long have you been around?
18 years.
18 years.
I
All right.
Yeah,
I don't see anyone putting up fisticuffs yet. So there you go. Stake your claim. Nice work, Anne.
We're still babies, but we're older than all of you folks. So our tagline is a farm fresh alternative to stale cinema. Basically, we love film and we love barns, and we put them together. So we like movies, and we like having people watch them in our barn. So we show mostly, because we just show what we like, we show mostly documentary and animation. I'm sure we could probably be doing it better, but we're doing it. So that's our story.
You've been doing it for 18 years, so you're doing something right. Daniel, good sir. Tell us about DanSan Creative's film screenings.
Hello. So the DanSan Creatives film screening was it was a platform to show films of creatives, local creatives, as well as some creatives that I work with in the Twin Cities region, on a screen for the general public to engage with. The idea was a two-part. One was obviously to create space, real life space for some of these stories that aren't entered into some other, a lot of these other film festivals that have sort of existed. But also the second part to that was to create a way to also raise funds for creators like myself and other creators to make more films. So that was the first one we ever done. There are going to be the ideas for doing more, but we're taking it slow because we're a very grassroots. We're not as old as 18 years, but
you might be the baby. We got the
we're the babies
teenager up there and the newbie here. This is great.
But we believe in putting the power in creators' hands, and we believe creators could could dream up their ideas and dream up their own film festivals and their own screenings as well.
Oh, very nice. Keith of Gravediggers. Tell us all about Gravediggers.
Well, I'm pretty young too. I just had my first one on Sunday, first ever film festival.
Daniel, you got to back up. You got to back up. We got even a babier baby than you.
Yeah. So mine is called an anthology festival because the idea was to collect a bunch of short films from all around the world. We had 200 submissions, and selections came from all around the US and South Korea, China, and Germany, all over the place. And see if we could take short films and combine them with some local stuff to create a cohesive narrative that worked as a feature film. And when the pandemic hit is around when I launched the submission for these festivals, because I started to look around and see all this content that was going to be stagnant from all the canceled film festivals around the world. So I was like, what's a different way to get this stuff out there? So I took submissions. You guys can probably hear my dog going. That's right next to me. Can't you? Took submissions, and the accepted short films got edited together with a wraparound segment that was shot locally. We did the live screening, and then we're going to do DVDs and free streaming on YouTube or Vimeo of the final product. So I thought it was just a cool way to get people's content out there in a different way in a world where big live screenings, might not be okay for the foreseeable future.
Nice. Richard, there you go. Northern Film Alliance. Explain what that is.
Well, Northern Film Alliance is an association of 3 different festivals right now. One is obviously the Duluth Superior Film Festival, and then we also have Minnesota Web Fest, which is all web episodic content, and that will be in its second year. Not regional, not regional, and then the EDU Film Festival, which is also based in Minneapolis, and that's all kids in high school programs. But we're a 501c3, so I'm here more on the historical background of Duluth Superior Film Festival, as I'm the founder of that festival 12 years ago now.
All right.
Yeah, Ricky and I started that way back then. But then even, Annie is correct in that her festival is older than ours. In fact, I remember Annie being there in the barn and sleeping overnight, camping out, and I think it was 2005, and it was quite honestly, it was honestly one of the best experiences I've ever had at a festival.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you.
Really, it was awesome. We camped out. It was great.
Yeah, that's cool. And Liz, finally, pardon me, I gave the wrong name for your festival. It is the Thunder InDIGIfest, which makes it that much more impressive to say. So Liz, tell me about the Thunder InDIGIfest.
Bonjour, hello, all my relatives. We are at Fond du Lac Tribal and Community College. And it started out as the Thunder Film Festival 6 years ago to provide kind of a motivation, maybe a outlet for some of our students, as well as to look at other Indigenous filmmakers and content makers. And then last year we partnered with AHEC, which is the American Indian Higher Education Consortium, to make this a different kind of a festival, Thunder InDIGIfest. And then we broadened it out to be lots of different multimedia, because we just launched a multimedia production degree and certificate and diploma. And so now we're kind of in the planning with what is the future of Thunder InDIGIfest. It might come back to being more, local, but still partnering a little bit with AHEC, or that might travel. But the whole focus is really to kind of provide that outlet for Indigenous content makers who maybe aren't ready for the big festivals, who need to get their feet wet, whatever that saying is about having dry behind your ears, or whatever euphemism you want to use.
I don't know which one. I kind of know what you're talking about, but I forget it.
Yeah, and there's so much going on, especially now in Indian country. We're seeing like this focal point on some of the issues that many people have not been made aware of. And so media in Indian country is really kind of looking for this opportunity. So that's what we're trying to help provide in this area, if not, you know, in a broader sense. Yeah.
Well,
I
that's
have an official preview that I was
well,
supposed to read, but I just talked all through it. So
that'll happen. I understand exactly your problem. I've got the same problem. So thank you for all of that. So now that we understand the difference between all the festivals, could you explain what the content creators should expect to get out of, like, not only your festivals, but festivals in general? Like, what do content creators, what should they expect? I mean, what are they getting out of it from coming to any festival at all? And please jump in. Has anyone got an idea? Everyone's still on mute.
Well, I think, I mean, it's different if you are participating in a film festival with your own film, or if you're, you know, a filmmaker in a, you know, region going to a local film festival, hoping to network and meet with other filmmakers, distributors and producers, and just also just, you know, see films. So I think there's, you know, a pretty big difference if you're there with your own film, you're able to, you know, interact with an audience, meet with distributors, and it really depends on the size of the film festival. If you're at like a world premiere film festival with a market, it's a totally different experience. If you're at like a regional festival that maybe doesn't have an actual market where people are buying and selling films. For our festival, we're really just a film festival that is there to help people network regionally. We're bringing in filmmakers from all over the country, and, you know, hopefully in upcoming years all over the world. That probably won't happen this year. But, you know, it's really a place for filmmakers to network, meet other filmmakers, collaborate, you know, see what's going on in the region. And I think that, you know, for our film festival, we're able to, you know, give exhibition platform to local filmmakers. And so that, you know, people who are coming in, filmmakers that are coming in from all over the country, are able to see stories that are being told by filmmakers from our region. And I think that's really important for just representation, being in, you know, northern Minnesota, which I feel like is an underrepresented region in the industry in general.
So you have people coming from all over the country to watch the movies, not necessarily, because you're taking regional films, is that correct?
No. So we have filmmakers coming from all over the country to our film festival. And I mean, hopefully we have people also, you know, visiting from around the country to watch the films. But really, we're looking at, you know, trying to build a grassroots audience here in the Northland. And I mean, one of the things we tried to do this year is really collaborate with local organizations like ACO, the NAACP, Minnesota Environmental Partnership, the Minnesota Discovery Center, and really program films that align with their missions and goals, so that they might bring people into the theater that might not normally come to a film festival, and really make that accessible. And so, like, our focus is having that our audience, our local audience, come in, you know, give a platform to local filmmakers to have stories from the Northland told by filmmakers from here, but also bring in stories that might be important to, you know, our diverse, you know, population here in northern Minnesota, and have that type of interaction with national filmmakers and local filmmakers and a local audience.
So really, when you're talking about what are you going to gain out of a festival, it really depends on the festival itself and what you're trying to achieve. And it sounds to me then, like, even with what Liz was saying, that there is this sort of a step up kind of thing, like get your feet wet, and you move through these layers of larger festivals. I mean, is that kind of how it works? Is there a bubble up effect that happens throughout? I mean,
from like a filmmaker perspective, if I'm releasing a film and I'm trying to do the film festival circuit, you know, first you're trying to get into Tribeca, South by Southwest, Sundance, Cannes, you know, Rotterdam, Berlin, because those festivals require world premieres, right? And so then after that, you would try to go for regional festivals that maybe require a regional premiere or national premiere, and so on, because there is like a tiered, I guess, like premiere status with different film festivals. So normally, you know, a lot of film festivals will program films that have been selected by Sundance, that have been selected by Tribeca. And then those are easily programmed into other festivals. So yeah, there is definitely like a tiered, system to the film festival industry.
Okay, and
I just wanted to jump in quickly with a story that I think might help illustrate it for folks.
boy, we're in a room full of storytellers, and I don't know if we need another story. No, I'm kidding. Please, by all means, tell us a story.
So, and I think it just points to the fact that, like, you can get, as content creators, you can get caught up in like, oh, I want to make sure that I have like, and that is totally valid to like make sure that you're getting a premiere at certain places, but it's also important to realize that even small film festivals, and maybe I'm just saying this because we're a small film festival, have potential for connections that are might behoove you later on. So in 2012, I think we showed a film from a documentary filmmaker in New York called World's Largest. And she came out, she spent the night in this terrible motel at the edge of Cloquet. And she called her girlfriend. She was like, why am I here? This festival is teeny tiny. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, I might get murdered in my hotel room tonight. Why? What is the purpose of this? And then she came to the festival. We, gave her dinner. I think we gave her a nice welcome. We painted the deer in our town to try and make the world's largest white stag for her. So we gave her a really nice welcome, and she ended up connecting with another filmmaker who helps organizing the Free Range Film Festival, Mike Schultz. They ended up making a film together that then premiered at South by Southwest. So you never know, sort of like, I guess you never know if you go in with genuine intentions of like, loving what you're doing and loving what other people are doing, that it opens up opportunities that you might just limit yourself if you're saying like, I only can do these festivals. Just be open to the wonderful chance encounters that can happen at festivals.
So it's that beauty of networking thing that we're going to be holding classes on, like the serendipity of festivals is but they're all there for, I guess, what it is. So it's like different values of serendipitous encounters.
I'll chime in a little bit on that, and I'd just like to point out that one of the things we've always tried to do in every festival I've ever been to sort of tries to do is you try to involve people at varying stages of their careers or wherever they are on their arc as a storyteller, filmmaker. And so the opportunity for people who are beginner level filmmakers to engage with people who are either intermediate, advanced, or full on professionals all the time, that's really that kind of tiered system within the festival that kind of gets broken down. And at a festival, is we like to call it, we call the Duluth Superior a boutique festival. Boutique because it's a little bit more of a, it's smaller, it's hand selected, it's like we don't have as many, but when they get together, the bundle is smaller, and a lot of those barriers to access break right down. And so you've got filmmakers who haven't even made a film yet, who just want to get involved, who are able to sit there and talk and ask questions to someone who's either a beginner level, or maybe they can connect with someone who's a beginner level and say, hey, let's make something together. Or they can, like Annie said, two intermediate filmmakers, or even, a borderline advanced or, professionals,
Sure,
got a chance to get together, and then, then they start working together. And so those levels of interaction that occur, and then the ability for, somebody to interact with somebody in a different level, in a different category. And the inspiration goes both ways as well, which is really one of the things that we found to be very interesting, especially with like the EDU festival. The kids in high school programs want to level up, but the industry professionals are just inspired by the way the kids act, because it sort of reminds them of when they were younger. And so that's one of the more important things that we've always sort of talked about, is sort of like, if you're in varying stages of your career, you're going to get a chance here, and it's real.
Yeah.
I want to kind of jump on what Richard's talking about, if I can.
Sure. Yes,
so
Keith.
I think actually the beginner filmmakers, I think, have the greatest chance of benefiting, especially at the smaller regional or even genre film festivals, where I think, especially if you're a first-time filmmaker and you've got a short, going to that screening and sitting in the back of the room and watching people watch your film can be one of the most valuable experiences as a filmmaker you're ever going to get. And I got that at Duluth Superior Film Festival. And these are the best, so much better than any YouTube analytics you'll ever see. Like, you know when people are getting bored, you know if something doesn't play, and you know when something does play. So even beyond interacting and networking, just getting to see an audience react to your work is going to inform you years and years to come. And there's no price tag on that. It's invaluable.
That's really well said. And Daniel, where'd he go? He's like jumping around the screen. There he is. Daniel, you had something.
I've been trying to figure out a way to raise my hand, and then I learned.
Yeah, I saw you there for a second.
I think Zoom changed the format a little bit, but I found it. No, I echo what everyone has said, but I keep thinking about just the whole idea of a festival in itself is it's live, it's in person. The spacing of it itself is it's grassroots. It's sort of connecting in an individual format. And I think there's just a natural power to that idea. Every creator sets out to create something. And some creators sometimes, and all of us sometimes just choose not to put whatever we create out because that's not something we want to put out. And when we feel comfortable to put something out, we have sort of either got to a place where we realize that's something powerful enough that makes an impact to someone else or something, or creates like he said, creates
now see, someone's having a good time.
Creates it creates an impact in a way that sort of is relational. And there are many ways of doing that. There's putting it in a film festival, there's putting it on YouTube, there's putting it on Facebook. There's many ways of putting something out if the goal is to be heard, to be sort of, for that story to be told. So festivals don't necessarily, its focus is not necessarily just all about creating space to tell a story. Its focus is about creating a community around the story. And I think that's what I value about a festival and a screening is creating a community around a story could go a long way in many ways. One, helping you as a creator gain a sense of inspiration. I think that's the base layer of showing up to any film festival, whether you're new, old, doesn't matter. I think I like to categorize everyone into one because I hate the hierarchy of film. I hate it so much. But we also understand the process of film is so large and so tasking that for someone to actually say, I'm going to make a film and go through the motions needs a level of inspiration that is next level. I think that's something that is to be said about a film festival is it could also put someone in a space where your whatever chemicals are in your mind sort of puts you in a place where you're seeking connection and seeking people naturally to help you make that film happen and make that goal a reality. And I think just knowing that the hierarchy of film in itself and just the whole world of filmmaking is so huge, and it's a privileged sport. Making a film is not for the poor. You all know that. We all know that. It's just a fact. Even if you had an iPhone, you're going to make a whole feature film with the iPhone. It's so much work when I talk about timing. And if no one's paying your rent in that time, you're losing money. And that in itself is a privileged sport. And so if we could identify it as a privileged sport, then we could identify the motions of film festivals of being there as a way of finding the tools to either make it happen in terms of inspiration. I think that's the base layer. Networking is a plus, but in the Midwest, I'm sorry, we just don't get that level of networking we need. It's just a fact. I love y'all, but it's just a fact. But I think we also are resources and networks. So I think that's the part we forget too, is we don't necessarily need a network to try and get it distributed worldwide or find distributors to make that. I think that's a whole nother conversation and a whole nother thing. But in the context of this conversation, I think just coming in there, knowing as a creator, I could be inspired. I think that's a great place to start.
I like what you said about the getting it done. Like Bodhi, I think we had a conversation about getting things done, like actually finishing something. You reach another level when you finish something. And in a festival, that's what's going on. You have built something and now it needs to be shown. You need to get some sort of reaction from it. Really as you said, the first layer of it is just finishing it, which puts you in this different hierarchy. Festivals will lift you beyond that. Liz, you had something to say, because Liz, you just went digital, right? So we're talking about these live festivals and how important it is for that kind of networking to happen. You're doing it in a different way.
Well, InDIGIfest, yeah, we went digital because of the pandemic, and the tribal college systems, had to go digital. So we were all delivering our course content via the internet. And just to piggyback on what Daniel was saying, the process has been inaccessible for a lot of people for a long time. And now we see an opportunity where maybe it's less inaccessible. And so we're trying to maximize this opportunity and having a festival where we do build that community because people resources often can get a lot done even if there is a hierarchy. And so we can figure out how to decolonize that ladder, decolonize that overall system so that we can provide access to more people, because that's where the interesting stories are now. I mean, when we watch things that are coming out of the usual, I'm a musician, so I'm going to say labels, but from the usual places where we're getting content, it's almost predictable. Like my 9-year-old, she's watching TV shows or film, and she can tell me how it's going to end. She can tell me who's going to do what when, because it's that predictable. But when you start looking into the communities whose stories have not been put forth, that's where the excitement is. And that's what we're starting to see as our society as a whole recognizes that the voices that haven't been heard now have stories to tell that are valuable. And so that's what we're hoping, with Thunder InDIGIfest is to, bring some of that way of telling stories, provide that community, not just for Indigenous people, but for everybody to share in this new way of telling stories, and to recognize that it doesn't have to follow a formula. It doesn't have to follow the same old pattern. Some of those things are nice though, but and how is it that we can refresh the process? And we're seeing some fantastic stuff, coming out when people partner like that. So that's what we're seeing in that InDIGIfest kind of realm. We had some like forum kind of discussions, as well as then showing some productions, and then looking at different types of careers. We really mixed it up in terms of what the InDIGIfest, Thunder InDIGIfest did. I have to be careful because there's an InDIGIfest in Canada, Toronto, that's their title. So ours, yeah.
You're the Thunder InDIGIfest.
You're the Thunder, yes.
Thunder. Well, thank you for that. So my next question is festivals tend to attract people from outside the area, and some people might not fully appreciate that type of inclusivity. So when we're talking about having a regional or local festival to showcase local folk, but that yet we're bringing all these other people in, or that we're bringing in outside content creators to show their films in this region, some people don't grasp how that works or why that's important. So could you explain the importance of outside involvement and what that means to our local community, not just the content creators itself, but the local community itself, to have these outside voices coming in? Like, who attends these things in a simple way? Who's up?
I'm just gonna jump in.
And I'd love you to jump in.
We get people who have been coming up from the Twin Cities forever, and who actually visit from even further afield, and then we get folks from who live on a farm down the road, who ride their 4-wheelers over. So we have a really, when we talk about the urban rural divide, we are sort of at the center of that in a really kind of interesting way, where when Mumblecore was really big, I don't know, like 10 years ago, we had the people who run the Greasy Spoon restaurant come and watch like a full feature Mumblecore film, which is not something that most people sit through till the very end, but they sat through till the very end of it. And, there aren't many.
Oh, hold on, I'm going to stop. Mumble what now?
Mumblecore was like really popular 10 years ago, where it was like people just, it was a genre. People
would mumble?
It was like mumble. No. Like it was just sort of, there wasn't a lot of plot. It was like 20 somethings just like, living.
Yeah, sort of thrown together into,
right.
Mumblecore. All right, now I got it.
So anyway, like there aren't a lot of spaces where, and I think both Liz and Daniel said this more eloquently than I am, where you can develop community around stories, like where you can look to the stories being told, and there's stories that are coming that aren't ones that are familiar to you, but you can buy into them because they're fascinating and you're doing them with other people. I think that, when you're sharing this experience with other people, there's just a space that's created where you can then, people filter out after this movie and they're, looking at this cornfield and they're talking about these characters and why did she make that decision? And, there's this magical time and space of appreciating art together that happens at film festivals for both creators and audiences from all walks of life. So I think that, the more that you can create experiences and create festivals that welcome in those people from different spaces, the better we're all going to be for hearing and participating in those stories.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to say about, who's attending your festivals and these outside influencers having a good influence on local communities?
Well, my festival is very horror themed. And in the distribution world, one of the cool things about horror movies is that they really travel well, because what's scary here is also scary in other cultures. So one thing that I really enjoyed when I was programming my festival, and I really hope that the audience on Sunday got this as well, is that spooky scaries are spooky no matter where they're from. Like I think the South Korean film and the Chinese film and the German film all played as well as the American films, perhaps even better. And all the people that attended the festival were local. So I think film festivals have this way of perhaps opening people's minds up to films that come from other places. And I think that all the local festivals are doing a good job of that.
Thank you. All right, well, then, let's go to the next thing. The storytelling in all facets of content creation can be obviously a powerful way of addressing social, political, and even personal issues. Really, explain how your festival and the brand of storytelling that it champions is important to the issues we face as a community. Or to put it another way, maybe a way that you can better appreciate it, tell me a story about your festival's stories. Who's first? There's a story. Everyone's got a story. And I want to hear it. What's like the best? Give me the best story of your festival. How about that? Give me the best story of your festival. Go, someone.
Richard, you want to take this one? I think you probably have more stories than I do.
Oh, hold on. Daniel was just ready to hop right in. So, Richard, we're going to put you on 2.
Winter day.
What's that?
I said it was a cold winter day.
That's a good start. I like that. That's a good opening.
Richard, you could go ahead. I wanted to start with.
He had the opening line. Okay, you got to go.
I'm going to follow that comedy act there. Now, I do have one moment that it was a bit of a shining star for me personally. Well, just, for the festival as well. And it was back in 2016. And this was when a film called The Seventh Fire was making the rounds of the festival. It played at Berlin and it played, most of the bigger festivals. But it was shot out in Pine Point on the reservation, and it had a lot of very difficult content. The lead character, Rob Brown, he was a drug dealer, and he was in and out of jail a little bit, and he was, it was a tough character, and they were just following him around. And so we've got these two white filmmakers who are just essentially following around a subject. And it feels a little objective, feels like a little bit of an objectification in that situation. And so it was sensitive, it was very touchy. And so, but we were going to play the film because we got it, and it was just like an amazing, it was really powerful film. So in an effort to kind of, just reach out, we started working with ACO. I reached out to Michelle LeBeau there at ACO. We'd never met. And so I just reached out, and we started discussing, this film, and she was like, yeah, we know. And I'm glad you came to me because we got to talk. And so we spent some time, and she brought in some elders, and we had a conversation about what this particular film meant to them. And they were, as the community, they were rubbed the wrong way that this kind of content was just being presented. And it's some pretty negative stereotype, but also, still accurate in some ways. But so I just sat and hashed it out, and I sort of asked, what do you think we should do, and how do we do it? And she said, well, let's ask, and one of the elders said, I have a problem that you're going to be doing out at Clyde Iron, where there's, one of our main problems is like we've got a high alcoholism rate, and it's difficult for us to go there, and that's just uncomfortable. And so I just suggested, well, let's do it here in a sober environment at ACO. And that was it. We said, we'll do it out there for, a big opening night, and then we'll come here. And then the other thing that I think was probably the best part was it felt like there was, the access and the just the ability to go to it. And so what we devised at that moment was this sort of a point of contact from the Indigenous Native community, and that was and he essentially stood at Clyde Iron and said, everyone who kind of looks like me, come with me. And so we made this invite to the Native American community and say, you get to go first, like you get priority seating. And it was kind of a special moment for me to see that we gave people the opportunity, the Indigenous community, to actually be the first, which is something that we talk about, and it seems to come really to the fore right now, is sort of like, well, why are we putting, the BIPOC community ahead of everyone else? Because they've been put behind for so long, and they've had so many opportunities where they never get to be first, because that's how oppression works. And so it was a really special moment for me during that festival when and there was a huge turnout, and Clyde Iron only was supposed to hold about 300 people. And I think we had 400 in there, and about 150 or to 200,
So it's
Native people.
You're talking about the power of storytelling to have that kind of impact. So that story doesn't happen without that film being made, and being able to open up that kind of dialogue. That's some important stuff. That's really great.
And it's my story. I love it the most. Anytime anybody asks me to tell a story about the festival, that's the one I tell, because it was, and I still get kind of emotional thinking about it. And I hope it's, like, it's hard to be sensitive in that situation. I hope I'm trying to be sensitive about it. And I think even to this day, Michelle and John Thunder was there, and just, there was lots of others who were there and who said, yeah, I think you did what you set out to do, and you accomplished that. And that was good. That was a good thing. You did what you said you were going to do as a festival and as an organization and personally even.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else got a story to tell about bringing communities together? Not even the scary ones? Keith? All right. Well,
come on, you guys! You can't leave me hanging. Philip,
I guess
somebody jump in. I just I pour my heart out, and everyone's like, oh, yeah.
We're like, nah, something. The rest of the festivals are really boring. Nothing happens there.
The very first film festival we did, we, this is the beginning of the World Wide Web. We put the word out we got films from Germany, but we also got a local film about the dangers of cat declawing that we showed. And we're showing this, and a woman in the audience watch, and it shows the actual cat declawing. A woman in the audience sees this, passes out. We have to call 911. Everyone comes up. My husband hides behind the screen the whole time while I'm dealing with this. And you just see these two legs hiding behind the screen while I'm trying to like do audience control and dealing with this woman who's passed out. And I'm like, and we kept on doing the film festival after that. So anyone who wants to start a film festival, it's a great thing to do. And, you know, don't worry about people passing out at your festival. So there's my favorite story.
And that the power of storytelling, that wouldn't have happened if you hadn't shown that movie. Nice. Daniel, he's got his hand up. Look, I actually saw the hand go up.
I'm gonna keep trying to use their hand. No, I love it. So story about storytelling about festival. So we did obviously a screening, not necessarily a full-blown festival. But the evening of our first, we had 3 nights. We had 3 nights of screening. The first night was a music video. Second night was, music videos and poetry. And second night was, what was it? Short films and behind the scenes. And the third night was documentary, short docu series. And the first night we had, first off, before I even tell the story about the nights, in putting the event together, it's not obviously easy in Duluth for a Black man to be putting together a film screening. That's a fact. And I sent out emails to pretty much as many organizations as I obviously know personally and unpersonally. Put out posters virtually and hit up a lot of different organizers around the thing. Just the same way my man Matt is also doing with his film festival, with the Duluth Superior Film Festival and all the other festivals. You put in the hard work to make sure you have the community engaged around it. And for me, the beautiful thing about the festival for me was the people who responded. And that made the world of a difference. It showed me what was possible. And that to me is what every creator wants to see in a festival in its own self. The experience for someone curating a festival, I think that's the lesson I get from it. How did this become more firm? Because the response I got was first from an organization called Lifehouse. Lifehouse responded right away and said, hey, this is amazing. This is great. We'd love our kids to be a part of it. Let's keep in communication around it. So let's fast forward to the day of the first night. The first night came, I told my wife, I gotta be there at least an hour early. You know, I'm used to coming on time or late. One of the two, I like to sit anywhere there. I think it's fine, don't judge me. If you grew up in white supremacist system, you would judge me right now. But there's nothing wrong in showing up late if you understand that time is not something you control. So I show up an hour early to my screening, which I rarely do, like I said.
Well, I'm gonna ask you this, Daniel.
Yeah.
You said you showed up an hour early, but were you kind of a little like 55
No,
minutes early?
no,
You weren't
trust
really
me,
an
I
hour
was-
early.
If anything, I was maybe an hour and 3 minutes early.
Oh, you were early to being really early. Okay, I'm just double checking.
I got you. So I showed up and I'm standing there when the Zeitgeist locked the doors and they probably will open and close it. So I didn't bother bugging anyone. I waited. And then 20 minutes went by and I saw a group walking on Superior Street. And it was a group of kids from Lifehouse with their staff. And I almost went to tears because this is 30 minutes before even the trailer starts, okay? Which I publicized accordingly. So, you know, and that to me is the impact of understanding. I think that's also obviously connected to the work I do with youth engagement in the community, is the impact of knowing that when folks want to engage in a space like a film festival, if they have a connection that they are familiar with, when it comes to whether it's a person or a subject matter or a theme or culture or whatever it is, there is something magical that happens that we cannot control. And that was the thing that I think for me really was the sparkle in terms of just the experience of curating one and the experience of having one. Now let's fast forward into the films. We finished the films and we actually had a talk back. And I opened the audience first to the young people, which is what I always do. And the first thing that was said is, yo, that was inspiring. And that to me was obviously the purpose in the beginning, but to have it identified by the people who came 20 minutes early and the people who responded first, it meant everything. I felt like if no one else showed up, we're done what was important to be done. And to me, I told that story because it shows not only obviously the people who come and show up, which was your previous question. It also shows to me that we all, in a way, when we curate stories like this, we all are also looking to be inspired. We all are also looking for the magic. We're always also looking for something. And for me as a curator, I was looking for an experience that stood out of the ordinary. And to me, that was the experience. Not just watching the films, it was the fact that there was a commitment to the experience, and that's powerful.
That's really great. I think that sort of electricity, really powers festivals. That underlying, just everyone's all jazzed about it. We're getting 5 minutes in, but it's really, now we want to talk about a little bit about networking at these festivals. We're talking about how electric these things are, and really when it comes down to networking, when you're trying to meet other creators or when everyone's feeling that jazzed, boy, it's a lot of fun to network. So, how do you network at a festival? Like, what is this an inherent thing? Do you somehow work to enhance it, or do you just sort of open up the doors and let it go? Like, tell us a little bit about networking at your festivals.
I was just going to say with what Daniel's doing, I think, working with these screenings that are outside of the industry, outside of the film festivals, like that's like the best type of networking. It's like a local filmmaker, a local artist. What Daniel's doing is like cultivating and engaging our community to make a space that is sustainable for local artists, because it's hard. It's hard to, make a film. It's hard to be an artist and live, a sustainable life and have that salary or have that pay. There's that myth of not the myth, the reality of the starving artist that people buy into and almost romanticize. And, I really appreciate what Daniel's doing, because, he's doing that outside of the industry and making a way to have like a local, independent community that wants to engage in these things and pay money for them because they're worth, that money, because you're putting so much time into it and engaging, a diverse community. I think that's like the best type of networking that we can do, on a local level. With film festivals in general, with the Duluth Superior Film Festival, it's part of that is that type of networking, but we are a festival that, we're bringing in films from all over the country and all over the world. But I think it's so important to have that space for local filmmakers. And, we're not paying the local filmmakers to have their films in our festival. It's, they're submitting and they're paying a fee. And I think it's just great to see, other people creating that and cultivating that scene where we have an appreciation as a community for local arts.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Does anyone have any? Is there any stories to say about how the success of networking? Anne had talked about. Yes, Liz.
Well, I just wanted to say a little bit about networking and recognizing your own network in the community that you're usually working in, right? And then and extending beyond that, we've had a couple of cool opportunities, and I want to say, acknowledge Philip and Catalyst, because they allowed us to have a 2-hour screening. 2018 was it already? I don't know, I don't remember, but through that process, I got to go and sit in on some of the sessions that were happening there at Catalyst. And my mantra, I would make sure I raised my hand and got this voice heard wherever I went, and say, when do you think that the industry is ready to hear Indigenous, authentic Indigenous voices and stories? And, you know, maybe I was just kind of like, you know, obviously in a group of people where they've heard it from other people. It wasn't just Liz Jaakola yelling this in the back of the figures, but you know, like, you know, to be able to do that and to then speak to various people that are working on things. Like I got to speak to one of Oprah's team, and I got to speak to, you know, people that I normally don't have access to then even be thinking about possibilities, you know, not for necessarily my own work, but for others, for students and other people that I know that are doing things, and to help build those relationships, and then therefore build confidence that we can actually move things forward. So like we did a piece about it was called Birthing Sovereignty, and it was about a traditional way of carrying our children in what's called a cradle board, and bringing some of those birthing traditions back. And that's really like the foundation for sovereignty, is we can be like have our children in natural ways, you know, without the interference of other cultures telling us how we're supposed to have our children or carry our children, you know, like that piece right there. And from that, there were 4 ladies that we interviewed in that 20-minute piece. And one of those ladies went on to like do a video production for her master's degree. And, you know, like ways that things.
Yeah, the way that it spiders out from this one germinating spot, and then the tree grows, and it's just so beautiful to see those trees grow on it.
And the other thing was the last year when we did InDIGIfest, Thunder InDIGIfest, we were working with PBS because they were going to feature Missy Whiteman's film in something that they were doing. Don Mickelson up there was doing something with Missy, and we were just talking, and then it was like, well, maybe we could have that as part of InDIGIfest, you know, like making those bridges, working, you know, together side by side, and then connecting every now and then. I think it's crucial, and I think it happens, you know, in our community, the Northland, if you want to say that, you know, in other ways, but now we're starting to see this happen in terms of film and video and TV and content creation. Just tell these stories that have been, you know, laying around maybe on kitchen tables or whatnot, and, you know, to help each other, to you know, to share the beauty that is up here, you know, the really complex, deep relationships that we have with the land, with each other, I'll say it, with water, you know, like all of these different things that we celebrate about northern Minnesota.
That's that's beautiful. Thank you for that. We have a question from Justin, but he said, in regard to networking story, the weight of this gathering is really skewed toward festival directors, film, TV directors, but my perspective is as an actor and what I've accomplished while networking film, TV festivals. And Justin, where are you? There you are. What do you mean by that? Can you expound on that a little bit, on that question?
Well, it was a statement. It wasn't a question. The statement is who's really talking here and what the panel is really made of. I'm just bringing another perspective because I'm typically an outsider being an actor and not being a director. I'm a writer, an art director, props and all that. I've worked in those realms, but my main focus is as an actor. So I have a different struggle.
Sure, I can certainly understand that. Can anyone speak to the idea of an actor coming to a festival and networking in that regard?
If I can say this, part of the problem with going to a festival, it's already too late for an actor.
Very true.
So you're looking for the next things to get in the queue, and that's what's hard.
That's very true. And I would imagine too that you, as an actor that's not in a film at the festival, it's hard to immerse yourself or interject yourself into those conversations. There's got to be a way. Does anyone have a follow-up on that at all?
Well, often I do have things in the festivals. It's just this one not in particular.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
I just want to add though, the frame, the way I see the question too that you're saying though, Justin, just to be clear, is are you saying in the the mind frame of, let's say, outside of a festival, how can, what's the impact, or how do you gain a network? Because I feel like festivals they present a great room for networking, or for growth in any way. Anything can happen, just like the story that I think Anne shared earlier is from the lady who came from New York. But it's like, at the same time, you cannot cast all your eggs in just the framework of a festival, is what I that's sort of how I read it. Am I right?
No,
Because
no.
yeah.
No, what I'm asking is if you had any ideas about how to work it while you're at a festival, and to get this group of this brain trust to embrace the idea of talking about acting and how to bring that into the fore, because it's kind of a stepchild.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, in a festival, we're showing films, and then so the filmmakers are having those discussions and all of that. So, and the actors who may be in the film don't really get to have a platform in these festivals. Like, that's not what we're talking about here. It's not an acting festival. It's the film festival. It's the end result festival. While actors are a part of that, how can they be more presented in a traditional festival? Am I getting closer here, Justin?
Yes, and I'd be glad to help. We don't have to belabor this now.
Yeah, I think actors could also create their own thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really do. I think an actor should create something. You create an event that really establishes that, and invite the filmmakers or the
That's your IMDb reel.
Pardon?
That's your IMDb reel.
Oh,
Your
well,
website.
well, there you go.
Well, I'm doing all that.
Yeah.
The question was asked, how do you become part of a networking situation at a festival? I brought it up from an acting perspective, and I'd like to see it more inclusive.
Yeah, Justin, I just want to say thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm curious. I'm still, relatively new to the region. I mean, is there kind of a unified like actor directory in Minnesota or northern Minnesota?
I would ask Ricky.
Yeah.
Let's talk to the people of UMFO and ask if there is a directory that you can be involved with.
Just one thought. I mean, when I moved from Austin, Texas, and I would often, as a film director, there would actually be like, there was an actors kind of association, and there would be unified editions where film festivals and then film directors would go to a space, and you would actually have kind of actors from all over the region, read a part, and just to introduce themselves to the independent film scene in Austin, Texas. And I was able to find, multiple leads in films that I've shot and directed, through an organization like that. And so maybe that's something that we can work on up here.
That sounds like a really good idea. I mean, that was outside of a festival setting? That was an organization in and of itself?
It was the Unified Actors Association in Austin, Texas. It was run through the Texas Film Commission, and that would happen every year.
And sometimes we have table reads at some of the festivals. I know at Duluth Superior Film Festival, we've had table reads, and Philip, we've had some with Panelists too, haven't we?
I think Philip is open to talking here.
Yeah, there's so at Catalyst every year we do casting director workshops, we do writing workshops, we do director workshops, we do producing workshops, regardless of what your role is on creating a project. You can come in and interact with locals and industry professionals and others. The table reads this year, the SAG-AFTRA team out of the Twin Cities is going to be running those. There's going to be about 50 different table reads. If any of you know Casey Lewis or Kelly Lampere Dash or Kat Campion, those are the folks running that. If there are any actors out there that want to get involved on those, so.
Yeah, how does that work from an acting standpoint? Then the actors just sign up and get assigned a part, or is it a rotating thing? How does that work, Philip?
Pretty much, yeah. The SAG group's going to be opening up kind of like a casting call. You don't have to be SAG to be part of it. It's all for non-union and everybody as well. And then they're gonna play a little matchmaker and figure out what kind of people should be getting what kind of roles at the table reads, and we'll be having those at the Gitchy Gaming Club during the festival.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I was just thinking about, there's an article in the Wrap about this show that just is now on Hulu, Reservation Dogs. It's a big buzz in Indian country, and they said, you know, like, looking for actors, there is not a shortage of Indigenous actors. They're just not in Hollywood. Like they had to go into the communities and talk to people about who might, you know, be a good fit for the part. So that, you know, that I think that is not only just in, you know, Indigenous communities, but across the board, you know, especially here in northern Minnesota, because this is not Hollywood, and nobody can do our accent like we do, right?
Oh
So
yeah, they screw it up all the time. Can't
so
stand it.
going into
Hollywood.
community. Yeah.
Well, beautiful. We're certainly running over time, but boy, that thank you, Justin, for bringing that up. That was a very interesting way to go. So I appreciate that. So I guess that's it. That's all the time we have for right now. Look for the networking thing. I'm going to call it a thing.
The workshop.
Networking workshop, which will go into further into how to network at these festivals to get the most out of them. And until then, I guess we will call that a night. Is that good, Sherry?
Yes, thank you so much, all of you, for your input and your stories and your words. We really, really, really appreciate it. We look forward to doing more. Would love your feedback as well. And we'll hang out, and you can give it now, or you can give us feedback later on, however it's most comfortable for you. Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you
Thanks
all.
for hanging out with us.
Miigwech.
And nice job, people. Thank you.
Yay.
None of us
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah, nice work, everyone. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Yes. Dan, you're
Yeah,
wonderful.
nice. Yes, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Although at the end I was like, oh geez, we're missing an element there that I was like, oh well, damn, I would have liked to dig into that one a little bit more actually.
Sherry, you're still recording.
Thank you.